Hi guys, and welcome to my review for the Simgot ET142. This is Simgot's take on what a planar is to them, or what they think a planar should be. And the interesting thing, although not a totally novel concept, is the fact that they've joined a planar with a PCT. Those of you that have been around for longer will remember that IVipQ did that with the Hook X. And this is their take on that particular, let's say, alternative to using planars. Duno did the planar with the BA, which wasn't, in my opinion, exactly the best combination. But the Hook X, although and you know, unfortunately not any longer available, was actually a very interesting IEM, and along with the Timeless, the original Timeless, and the Letshuoer S12, it did have its place. And I dare say even that, although yes, the Letshuoer, the S12 Pro, then ultimately reclaimed the throne, I would actually say that the Hook X and the original Noozles ET142 from Tangzhou were two very solid planars that for a while actually were probably the dominating ones. The S12 Pro, I guess, then maybe was able to rekindle or to bring itself up again to being the top planar because of the retune that kind of tamed a little bit that early Pina gain. Well, not really early, but that amount of energy that usually some planars, at least the earlier ones, were used to have in that 2K area. Anyway, enough of me talking about that. What we want to talk about now is the ET142. Like I said, it uses a planar and a PCT. It's using a 14.2 millimeter planar, which seems to be the latest generation, and the PCT driver, from what I was able to ascertain, is actually mounted in the rear of the driver, so the nearer or facing the faceplate. You can actually kind of get an idea. Let me see if I can focus this here. There we go. So we have the planar in the front, and then the PCT driver is in the back, as you can see. It seems to be, from what I was also able to ascertain, a 5-layer PCT driver. The planar is using a double array of magnets, both in the front and in the back of the diaphragm. Another interesting, or another feature that the Simgot does have is the fact that they're using exchangeable nozzles. Although, truth be told, I didn't really notice much difference. They are very, very identical. As for the shell itself, the cable is a very nice cable. I didn't even bother changing it because it actually is a very nice cable. As for the shell, metal shell, it looks the business. It's a heavy shell. It's going to be a fingerprint magnet because of the fact that it's got this finish that it has. But it's a beautiful shell, fits flawlessly in my ears. I mean, with regards to the fit, I have to say that they once again did not disappoint. Simgot in that aspect always seems to get things right. And that's it. I mean, there's really not much that I can say negative, well, not really anything negative that I can say apart from the fact that it's a fingerprint magnet about the ET142. It's a solid built IEM. It's got a nice weight to it. It feels the business. It feels the part. Proper cable, exchangeable nozzles. Although, like I said, I would have liked to have seen an alternative tuning, and I actually did try since the kit. I've got the Simgot tuning kit for the EA500. I did try my take on that, yeah, that's basically it. Anyway, what do I have here? I've got basically, excuse, this thing doesn't want to focus. There we go. I've got here basically the, let's say, flagship models in terms of planars. I've got here the Hidizs MP145, the Timeless 2, the Letshuoer S15. The one here that is missing is the new version of the Noozles ET1 from Tangzhou. I was kind of hoping that I would have had it as well. Well, I don't have it, obviously, as you can see. But rest assured, when I do receive it, I will do again this review if I need to do it. It's not really a problem. In terms of price, the Hidizs, the 145, it started off a little bit more expensive, but you can get it anyway around the $150 price point. The Timeless around the $200. The Letshuoer is a little bit more expensive, closer to the $300 price point. As for the MP142, I really honestly don't know, so I'm not going to say, but I assume it will be a value somewhere under $200. That's what the perception that I get. All of them except for the Letshuoer S15 have also got the exchangeable nozzles. All of them extremely well built, extremely solid. The one here that is a little bit of the monster in terms of its size is the MP145. It uses a 14.5mm planar driver. The Timeless uses a 14.5 as well, an upgraded version of the original 14.2 from what I was able to find out when I was working on the review for it. This uses a 14.5 as well. Actually it's a 14.8 according to them, but in reality it's a 14.5. So it's the latest generation of that driver that Letshuoer uses, and the Simgot is using the smallest driver. And again, it seems to be the latest generation of this 14.2mm driver. So effectively, there are, let's say, two sizes, 14.2 and 14.5. And these IEMs all seem to be using the latest version or variant of that driver. Either in terms of the magnet structure has been improved, the diaphragm has been also improved. Well, it is what it is. In terms of the sound and what the other IEMs are capable of, I think a lot has been said, so I don't really need to delve a lot into it. But I will say this much: the MP145 and the Letshuoer are probably the ones that have the most kind of relaxed presentation in terms of being more DD-like. Even though the MP145 does offer the alternative nozzles, each one of the nozzles doesn't really change any that character much. That it always keeps a very noticeable character of being DD-like in its presentation. So trying to control any negative aspects of what the planar timbre and tonality might bring to the table, in terms of maybe some unwelcomed harshness or something of the sort. Honestly, in any of the nozzles that I use, the MP145, I never really found it. I've always thought of the MP145 as one of the most solid planars that is out there. It was shrouded with a whole bunch of issues and so on and so forth, because basically I think people really don't have anything else better to do than to complain. Whatever the politics that are involved and whatever things that are involved and so on and so forth, I think people forget that they have skeletons in the closet, so it's really easy to sometimes point fingers. And I think that Hidizs really suffered from that in an unfortunate matter. Then there was also the issue that apparently they changed the tuning. Well, I can tell you this much: I've got 3 sets of the MP145. That's how much I like it. And I actually opened the original one, which uses the driver with the black, let's say, the black rear section of the driver, and I've got the later one, which uses the white one. I've measured all 3, and they all sound the same. End of story. I mean, at least the 3 that I got, they all sounded the same. They all have almost flawless channel left and right channel balance. If I really want to nitpick, the second set that I got has just a little bit of an extra roll off in terms of the bass from about 50 downwards. But guys, it is the same IEM, so I sometimes get a little bit confused how people can start just saying things. Anyway, I'm not going to rant about that. The Timeless 2, I just reviewed it recently. I actually compared it to a few other planar IEMs, and namely the S12, the 2024 edition, and the RTT10 Pro, with the other 2 that came out on top of that comparison. Even though there were other very favorable performers there, the Shozy, the P20 for example, which has got a very similar sound to the Hidizs MP145 with the particular nozzle that I'm using. The F1 Pro, there were a number of IEMs there which were very solid. The Escort Venus, for example, the Escort Luna, the KZPRX, but those three that I mentioned, the Timeless 2, the Letshuoer S12, the 2024 edition, and the RTT10 Pro were the three top dogs, let's put it that way. And the Timeless, if you guys recall, the Timeless is a bit of an interesting IM, because the way that the nozzles have been done, be it using a normal nozzle, then using that face plug nozzle, you either get a more pronounced 2K area to that 1.5 to, let's say, 2.5, 3K area more pronounced, or less pronounced. I preferred it with the silver standard nozzle, which gave that more kind of DD-like sound without losing that planar genetics, or that planar DNA. Not that I disliked it with the gold nozzle, for example. The face plugs, or the phase tips or nozzles, or whatever you want to call them, I didn't really. Okay, they're fine. They kind of gave you the sensation of giving you a slightly bigger soundstage, but I can't really be 100% sure, because it's very much how it fits in your ears and so on. And I actually found that with these particular tips, the KB Era 7s, the Timeless 2 performs flawlessly, and it wasn't by chance that I said that overall, because there's 12, the 2024 edition it's a limited edition, and you might not be able to get your hands on it. It wasn't by chance that I said that this did make sense in terms of its final price, and did make sense because it offered the two, let's say, the two possible scenarios for a planar. One being the more planar type of sound using the gold nozzle, or as the termination for the nozzle, or then using the silver nozzle, which will give you a more DD-like type of sound. So you basically get two IEMs in one. And the truth is this: the Timeless is very, very competent. Bass is amazing, vocals, it's a fantastic IM. The S15, again, like I mentioned, uses more that kind of DD-like approach, very relaxed, very smooth, but overall balanced, and the tonality and the timbre that the S15 offers is just absolutely unreal. If there is a flaw maybe that we can point, is the fact that, okay, fine, the shell seems to be an interesting resin kind of shell, but it's a pity that they didn't offer exchangeable nozzles. That would have been interesting. Or some feature to maybe justify a little bit more its price. I mean, the price jumped from the S12 Pro and even S12 to the S15 was quite significant. You can almost buy 3 sets of S12s. But sonically, which is what matters, it's a competent IM, and I would guess it wouldn't be totally out of bounds to say that it's probably the better Letshuoer planar driver. The interesting fact is with the S08, which is significantly cheaper, you do get a lot of the same genetics that the S15 offer. So if you can't afford the S15, S08 is a very, very solid performer that will give you a lot of the same type of vibe in terms of overall sound, tonality, balance of bass, mids and treble, male vocal, female vocal, a lot of the same thing. That's the reality. But anyway, this is the S15, and then finally here now the ET142, and the ET142, like I said, uses the PZT, which might automatically cause some distress to some people. Oh, but the sound is going to be this and that, and it's going to be aggressive, and it's going to be metallic, and blah 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 blah. And again, or the other thing is the fact that it does offer that 1.5 to 2.5 3K area to be quite energetic. It's even a little bit more energetic than the Timeless 2 using the gold nozzle instead of the silver nozzle like I'm using. But the curious thing, and I think this is now me just speculating, I'm not sure because obviously I don't know a lot of the details, but I think the fact that the PZT is mounted where it is mounted, the fact that it's the latest generation of planar 14.2mm driver, and the fact that it's a metal shell, I think all of those things somehow have come together to offer a sound which, yes, if I compare them as these are, okay, with this is definitely the most planar of the three, without doubt. Even if I try and change here the nozzle on this to the gold one on the Timeless 2, yes, it becomes more planarish in its presentation, but this is still even more planar than that. But the interesting thing is that somehow those factors that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, combined with the way that overall the IEM was tuned, offers a sound that is got a lot of unexpected, let's say, smoothness. I wasn't expecting things to be this smooth. In terms of the bass, it's basically the same sort of bass as you get here on the Timeless 2. The MP145 slightly overall bass, slightly lower overall bass, and the S15 is still a slightly lower overall bass. But it's the balance that's always struck between the bass, the mids, and the highs, especially that 100 hertz to where it corresponds in terms of the mids 2 or above 2K. It's that balance that ultimately determines, at least that's my opinion, determines the overall balance and tonality. And the interesting thing is that, you know, they all kind of have a very, very similar sound, and the ET142 stands out by being the one that's got maybe at slightly lower volumes that little extra amount of detail, that little extra amount of let's say resolution that the others don't have. Well, compared to the S15, it cannot have more resolution because of the fact that it's been tuned purposely to be, you know, on the warmer side. Compared with the MP145, I think a lot of what I've just said again applies to itself because of the way that it's overall been tuned. But even compared with the Timeless 2 with the gold nozzle, you still notice that this just seems to have just that little extra, a little amount of twinklies and sparklies, and that little extra amount of, you know, micro details. Look, it's not a big thing, and like I mentioned, I think a lot of that is down to the fact that obviously the PZT is mounted where it is mounted, so it maybe helps camouflage some of the unwanted effects that a PZT can sometimes present. And also, I think the fact that the shell is metal and of such a heavy weight, it does somehow introduce some sort of internal resonances and harmonics, which just offer a very, very pleasant sound. Bass, like I said, it's nice, it's clean, it's super sharp, it's a really nice bass. Mids, the transition into the mids, flawless, nothing to be said. Male and female vocals are impeccable. I would say the female vocals are probably the star of the show here because of the way that it's been tuned. And then treble, and above that, the air, the space, everything is just really, really very well done. Now, you ask me, but Tony, is the difference to the others big? Is it better? Is it worse? Well, look, it's like I've said countless times, it depends on how the IEM is going to fit you, depends what style of music you're going to listen to. If I compare this to the S15 and to the MP145, because of their nature of tuning, yes, this will sound more resolute, will sound more resolving, more details. Okay, but does that make it necessarily better? Well, it depends. You know, it depends on what actually you want. Do you want the ultimate in detail, or do you want a nice, or do you want the ultimate in musicality, or do you want a nice balance? Okay, so I would say the MP145 and the S12 are probably a little bit more on the musical side, while this still offers a high level, a high degree of musicality, but with a somewhat more capable technical performance than those two. Is it a huge difference? No, hell no, it's not a big difference. In terms of making sense buying, if you have any of the two, look, if you have an MP145, you've got a phenomenal IEM, that's the reality. So it's not like you're going to buy this and you're going to get something which is drastically better than that. No, you know, it's very much the same thing. If you have an S15, you should now sell the S15 and get this. Again, I'm saying no, not really. If you're going to buy one from the start, then maybe this will make more sense, because in terms of its value for money, it's a more cost effective, there's more for your money here than there is on the S15. I'm not going to deny it, and mind you, I really like the S15. That then means that we are left here with the Timeless 2. And the Timeless 2, because of the fact that it's got those exchangeable nozzles and they offer a very big change in the overall sound, I would say that the Simgot's biggest rival is definitely the Timeless 2, because the Timeless 2 is capable of offering a sound which is very similar to the Simgot overall in terms of being musical, being detailed, being technically capable, but it can also offer that more musical type of vibe, you know, like I have it set up here with the silver nozzle. So you know, it's the more versatile of the two. On the Simgot, and like I mentioned, I played around a little bit with the with the nozzles and what tuning I could obtain from them, and if you actually do play around a little bit like I did, and well, the actual nozzle setup that I did was a very simple nozzle setup. I just basically introduced a medium density filter onto the nozzle. You then tame down that early in a very energetic area there between 1.5 and 3. You tame it down, and you end up having a sound which is then more musical and more along the vibes of the MP145 and the Hidizs and the timeless two, sorry, with the nozzle that I have. So you have, and I think that's one of the things that Simgot has always been capable of offering us, is because you have this ability to tune the nozzles. You can get basically 2 or 3 different types of sound, very distinct types of sound from the same IEM, and in that situation it then becomes very comparable to the timeless 2. Hopefully Simgot might offer either the nozzle from factory with the little mod that I mentioned, or then if you guys do end up buying the Simgot, it's a really easy mod to do. You just take a medium density foam, and you just a 5mm one in terms of overall length, and you shove it in the nozzle, and that's it. You put it in the actual the exchangeable nozzle that it has, and that's it. There's a kind of bluish nozzle, and there's a gold nozzle. I'm using the bluish one. The gold, like I said, basically is the same thing. So you could maybe take the gold, put the foam on there, and then compare easily by changing one and the other and seeing which one you like. So that's that. Look, guys, that's in a nutshell the ET142. A very interesting IEM. Considering that Planars end up always being very much the same thing, the same kind of copy paste almost affair. It's interesting because they've been able to use the PCT and use it well, in my opinion. I didn't find it to be aggressive or harsh or anything of the sort. I didn't find it to have any weird tonality or timbres or anything of the sort. I genuinely liked the ET142. It's a solid IEM, not only in terms of build but in terms of its sound, and it's especially the sound that surprised me, because when I heard PCT, like I said earlier, you kind of get a little bit worried because not all PCT implementations are good. Well, the majority of them are not really very good, but the truth is Simgot again surprised us, and they've done that in various other IEMs. They do know how to tune, they do know what they're doing, and well, the truth of the matter is the ET142 was under development for quite a while, and when they launch a product, you can be rest assured that product has been launched with countless hours of tuning and retuning and making sure that what you're going to get is a proper product and not just something that's just slapped together and that's it and out the door. So that's it, guys. I think I basically said everything. It's a solid built IEM. It plays really well. It's got, out of all of these IEMs, with the nozzle that it's got here, it's probably the one that's got the most planar type of sound. Although the timeless does come very close to it if you use the gold nozzle, but the interesting thing is that although it's got the most planar sound, it's got also the planar sound, which is probably the easiest to live with and to accept with various genres. Something that, for example, when you listen to the original S12, which has got a very similar type of energy in that 1.5 to 3K area as this has, you notice that it just becomes a little bit too much, a little bit unpolished, a little bit just not as elegant, and this somehow manages to do it really well. And even compared with the Timeless 2, I would even with the Timeless 2 using that gold nozzle, which has got that extra energy, somehow, I really cannot put my finger on it and be sure about this, but I think most definitely it has to do with the PZT and the way that it's been implemented. It somehow introduces a very pleasant second harmonic kind of vibe. You know, the second and third and fourth harmonics that are present there are very pleasant. They are not in any way harsh or anything. So it's a job well done. Basically, let's just leave it like that. It's a job well done. When I get the Tangsu in my hands, hopefully the beginning of the year sometime, I will definitely be comparing with these four again, and kind of give you my opinion, and that's it. I mean, you know, like I said plenty of times, if you are happy with the IEMs that you now have, seriously, just stick with it. You know, don't go now out and rush and buy because you think you're going to have no, you're not. Trust me. The way that the market currently is, the difference that exists between IEMs when we are talking about properly designed IEMs is not as dramatic as you would think. Okay, and especially in the Planars, because of the fact that they use so many of them use the same sort of driver, the differences even become less prominent. I mean, just going back here to the MP145, like I said, if you want to have an MP145 sound at a fraction of the price of the MP145, Shows EP20. Linsoul had the Shows EP20 now recently at $65. That is an unreal deal, because trust me, the P20 with the way that it's tuned, it is the exact same thing as the MP145 using the nozzle that I got it using here, which is the silver one, if I'm not mistaken. Exactly. It is the same, guys. The same. So if you cannot afford what this costs, you know, P20, and it's the same one because it's the same driver. That's the reality. It's the same driver. All right. Guys, I'll show you the graphs in the second part, and that's it. As always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please feel free to ask me. Take care now. Bye bye.